The man had always thought his father's behavior was strange. One day, while his parents were out grabbing KFC, he seized the opportunity to slip into his father's locked storage shed. He quickly cracked the combination lock and stepped inside. Tyler had only meant to figure out what secret his father was hiding, but he discovered a loose floorboard. He pried up the board and pulled out a shoebox from underneath, opening it eagerly. Inside, along with several women's magazines, was a photo of what appeared to be a victim. Just as shock washed over him, he suddenly heard noises outside. He hurriedly put everything back in the box and restored the scene to its original state. Soon after, his father returned home. Mike had planned to ask his son to help load some cargo, but couldn't find him anywhere. He immediately headed to the shed to check, only to see that the combination lock on the door seemed to have been tampered with. There were obvious signs of rotation. That night, lying in bed, Tyler couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. His suspicions about his father grew stronger. He quietly opened his laptop and searched the name from the photo, only to discover it was linked to an infamous local serial murder case. Just as he was reviewing the information, the light behind him suddenly flicked on. He slammed the laptop shut in a panic. Seeing his flustered expression, his mother mistakenly assumed he'd been looking at inappropriate content. The next day, his mother asked his father to have a talk with him. Instead, his father brought Tyler into the shed and, under the guise of giving him advice about adolescence, subtly probed to see if he'd discovered anything unusual in there. Tyler played dumb, brushing it off casually, successfully avoiding his father's suspicions. Afterward, he went to the home of a classmate who was into researching criminal cases. Together, they analyzed the serial killer's methods. They discovered that the killer used the same knot-tying technique to bind every victim, and this distinctive rope work matched perfectly with Tyler's father's professional skills. To dig deeper, Tyler made up an excuse about working a part-time job and spent every day at Mary's house analyzing the case. What he didn't realize was that his father, already suspicious, was watching his movements from a distance. One day, his father confronted him point-blank, asking why he'd lied about working. Tyler panicked and quickly made up a story about having a girlfriend. Unexpectedly, his father suggested he bring his girlfriend home for KFC. To avoid being caught in his lie, Tyler had to explain the situation to Mary and ask her to pretend to be his girlfriend for a family dinner. After meeting his charming and talkative father, Mary actually thought there was no way he could be the cold-blooded killer. To convince her otherwise, Tyler took her into his father's shed. But when they lifted the floorboard, the items that had been hidden there were gone. Mary reached into the space and pulled out an architectural blueprint. It showed a structure resembling a secret room, with notes about different binding methods. They photographed the blueprint for evidence. After Mary left, Tyler examined the design again and realized the layout looked eerily similar to his own house. He locked the shed and went outside to find the vent shown in the blueprint. After removing the cover, he crawled inside. The space was empty except for a board leaning against the wall, looking oddly out of place. As Tyler approached and moved the board aside, a putrid stench hit him full force. Fighting the foul smell, Tyler crawled into the hidden space and turned on the light to discover a decomposing animal carcass on the floor. This cramped room, no more than 100 square feet, was equipped with a toilet and shower. A nearby cardboard box was filled with magazines about bondage and another box containing identification documents of multiple women. As Tyler looked through them, he realized with horror that every name appeared on the victim list from the serial murder case. Could his father really be the killer? Early the next morning, Mike took Tyler hunting in the mountains. Tyler walked ahead, his mind racing. Deep in the woods, his father stopped beating around the bush and asked him directly if he'd told anyone about the secret. It turned out Mike had figured out that his son knew the truth. Tyler tried to play innocent, but Mike explained that those suspicious items weren't his. They belonged to his brother who had died in a car accident years ago, which was also why the serial killings had suddenly stopped. Tyler asked why he hadn't gotten rid of the stuff sooner. Mike said he'd never found the right opportunity and offered that if Tyler was willing, they could burn everything together. Faced with his father's explanation, Tyler chose to believe him. Father and son then burned all the evidence with their own hands. Days passed, and when Tyler didn't come to see her, Mary went looking for him at school. Tyler told her that the real killer was actually his deceased uncle, not his father. But Mary couldn't accept that explanation. The serial murders had claimed over a dozen innocent lives, including her mother. This couldn't just be swept under the rug with a few words. At her insistence, Tyler decided to investigate one last time. He told his parents he was going to summer camp. Mike saw his son off, then sent his wife back to her hometown. Once he was alone in the house, he finally dropped his facade and revealed his true self. He changed into women's nightclothes and set up a horizontal bar between the door frames, securing it with red rope. Then he deliberately struck various bizarre poses, repeatedly clicking the camera shutter. But after taking dozens of photos, not a single one satisfied him. After releasing his pent-up urges, he decided to go out and find a new target. He went to a supermarket and quickly locked onto a woman shopping alone. Watching her head to checkout, he casually followed her to the register, then tailed her all the way to the parking lot. What Mike didn't realize was that Tyler was secretly watching his every move from a distance. Mike followed the woman to find out where she lived. When the time was right, He grabbed his tools and climbed through a window into her home. He first subdued the woman with a weapon, then bound her tightly with rope and raised his camera to take photos. Just as he was about to press the shutter, Tyler burst into the room with a gun. Faced with his son's sudden intrusion, Mike remained eerily calm. He used soothing words to pacify Tyler, coaxing him to lower his guard, then suddenly snatched the gun away. Once he had it, he immediately pointed it at Tyler. But the gun wasn't loaded. Father and son immediately grappled with each other, with Tyler clearly at a disadvantage as the situation rapidly deteriorated. At the critical moment, Mary rushed out from behind and struck Mike hard on the head with a lamp, knocking him unconscious. After their narrow escape, they didn't call the police. Instead, they took the unconscious Mike to a remote area and carefully staged it to look like suicide. From that day on, the town only gained one more missing person poster, and the serial killer Mike vanished completely from people's sight.